just need to get my Zoom back up again. Okay, wonderful. Let's go gallery and record. Beautiful. Okay, so welcome to Stories of Awakening update with myself, Mary Jo, and my two wonderful guests, beautiful Sharron Martin and Janine Savient. And this is, I believe, our third recap kind of session, co-creative connection. The last one was in December, and then we had one before that. And of course, I interviewed you individually as well. So it's been an ongoing unfolding and blossoming, this connection and co-creation. And we haven't really spoken a lot before we got on here, so we'll be unfolding the conversation and the connections and the information as we go along. So yeah, where will we begin? Sharron Martin, share with us from your perspective. Welcome, welcome. And from your perspective, how are we doing on the earth?
Well, we're doing well, actually. And I think that the key thing here is to be doing some multi-viewing, to be aware and mindful of looking at things from a variety of perspectives and through a variety of lenses, so you don't just get caught up in looking at it from one point of view. But what we are being shown, if you like, on our three-dimensional world is a very contrived set of situations and circumstances, and so we are to view them, and we're to hold a vision for something higher and better. So that's where we're headed, and so we're to hold on to that whilst kind of watching what is going on without paying too much attention to it, and certainly not giving it too much energy, because of course where we put our energy is what we end up with. So certainly there are a lot of things in the world that are going on at the moment that I don't want to be in my reality, and so I've observed that they're going on, but I don't pay them too much mind, and I don't give them any resistance energy, and I don't give them any energy much at all. So I'm a passive activator or a passive activist, I don't know, but yeah, I feel I really sit in the camp of knowing that we're headed somewhere grand and fabulous and wonderful, and that in fact what Gaia speaks of is that during this month we are winding up the spiraling, the ascension spiral, but it's accelerating. So we're moving up it very quickly individually, but collectively it's also creating a vortex, an energetic speeding up that is going to kind of erupt. But in a way, it's this opening of this giant portal that opens around the 20th. So the gateway of the equinox, it opens the day before roughly, and then we're just going to be in this downpour of these energies that have a catalytic impact on us and our bodies and in our cells to really shift, and the biggest human shift in consciousness that we've ever experienced, and that will play out over the end of March and through April, depending on how well we master it, really. So yes, that's going to, Gaia is saying that will be well landed by the end of April, but we could do it faster than that. So that's where I sit. That's my intel and voting to begin with.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that phenomenal overview of earthly times. Yeah, I think you synapsed it pretty darn well, and we'll unpack it a bit more as we go along. But I'd love to invite Janine now to also share how are we doing on the earth at the moment, Janine?
Well, it's not called the Great Awakening for no reason, and that's exactly what it's all about right now, is the awakening to deeper, more expanded levels of who we are. And every single person has their own pathway to that knowing. So with the world narrative playing out as it is, some are pulled to be right in it and be actively participating in a very physical way, feet on the ground, out there with their posters, with their voices, with their full feeling of needing to physically be in the change, and others who know the more expanded space of holding are working on other levels. So we're a team. We're a team of humanity. We're all awakening. We're at our own various personal levels of that awakening, and every person holds their place. So some are what I call feet on the ground, and others are the space holders, and it's working together. Like Sharron, I feel that March, April are huge months, and my knowing is that on one level, it's going to be the most incredible, heart-opening, higher frequency time, and on the other level, it's going to play out outside of us in a deepening, darker, heavier way. So we're going to have the two that look like they're clashing, but actually the dark bursts us into the light, and the light reveals the dark and shows it for what it is. So it's the most extraordinary time to be here. And I have moments where I feel so blessed. Oh my goodness. This will go down in the history of the earth. And here I am, one of the ones on the leading edge of change here, along with you two beautiful ladies. And we're in it. Like, we're not just in it boots and all. We are in it, body, soul, mind, heart. You know, we signed up for this, and we're here helping lead the charge for light and love, and help every other heart on this planet rise into the beauty and the bliss that they are. And then again, I also have times, because of my humanness too, where I can start to feel a little doubt start to grow in there, and sometimes I can sit in that doubt for a few hours, and then I realise and I take the learning from where I've allowed myself to go and lift myself back out. Those times are not near as many as the times of my deep knowing and my awareness, but I see that in others too, in many, many others, the doubt, the confusion, the heaviness. And sometimes if I've got many that I'm helping to support at one time, sometimes I do fall into it just a little, and take myself away and be by myself and reconnect with nature and bring myself up again. So and there's always learning in those times too. So yeah, it's a big place to be here at the moment. It's a lot of deep breaths and holding our center and feeling our alignment, and just gently moving ourselves back into alignment if we feel we're starting to just fragment a little bit. And yeah, and we're all in it together. You know, that's the beauty of it, is that we're a team. We're all here together to help support each other and hold the bond of love that flows through every one of us. So I think we're doing okay. Yes, to answer your question.
Yay! Thumbs up for humanity on this beautiful earth, like my new background.
I do, it's beautiful.
I thought for 2021 I needed to update, take in the world.
It's fabulous.
Yeah. So I just say a few words for myself. Just one thing I've noticed in the last while is probably awareness of, just kind of checking in with where I may have gone into assume things, you know, on whatever side of the spectrum of the duality playing out, and acknowledging where I may have to dance with certain elements to be aware of it. And I think, you know, what you said, Janine, especially when you're working with different people, I'm sure Sharron as well, you kind of, to be relatable, we have to have some intel into what that, we just say spectrum or frequency or information experience is like, to be able to communicate. Otherwise, you know, it's going to be not relatable. But what I've been noticing in myself is is just being constantly reminded to step back and just as you said, to have this bigger overview, which is probably this background as well, you know, just feel like having that overview and holding the highest potential for humanity and going deep into that knowingness place as well of, yes, there's so much playing out. And I guess as well what you said, Sharron, it can unfold in a quicker way, a slower way, a more friction, or with greater ease. And yeah, it's really up to all of us, and being the best versions of ourselves. And as we go along, I'd like to touch into this topic that I did share with you before we started, which is, again, that's come up in the last few weeks, and especially observing my beautiful hubby who's been doing a few races. One that was very challenging. One, I often use his races as they just feel like they're like analogies for the bigger picture of humanity. You know, he goes off in his endurance racing into these big unknowns and challenges. And how do you prepare? You know, no matter how prepared you are, it's an experience, it's an undertaking, and we can only discover as we unfold the experience. As much as our minds wants to find some predictability, you know, and I noticed that within myself, you know, I'm looking at lots of stuff because still trying to figure out, how is this all going to go down? Where are we going? What's going to happen? How's it going to unfold? So no matter how much preparation my hubby did for his racing, you know, it took its toll. It was challenging. And so that idea of humility really came up for me, and really looking at what does that really mean? And I guess for me, it was really looking at is like that surrendering into something greater that has this bigger vision for us. And I often say to people, it's like what's stressing humanity out is taking that pressure on of needing to know or trying to figure this out. And it's just not possible. It's not possible, and it's not. We are the feet on the ground, and we are the ones that are walking the journey. And if we can learn more and more to become more humble and have that humility to take that few moments, and this is what I was saying to my beautiful partner, you know, feet on the earth each day before he got on his bike, and for myself as well, and just take a few moments to humble myself to my heart and my, you know, the greater unfolding to the earth, and ask to be guided through my day, and take that pressure off the ego, the human, to kind of come up with the goods. So I'd love to hear maybe what you might add to that, Sharron.
Well, I think the words humble and humility have been a bit skewed
Exactly.
in our world, and so it's not about subjugating ourselves to anything else or anyone else. For me, but surrender is a beautiful sort of hand-in-hand motion with that, I suppose. I agree. I think we're being challenged, we're being asked to be, not just to be okay, but to thrive in the unknown, to thrive in, or become comfortable with the uncomfortable, to, you know, be moving on shifting sands, and to feel safe because we know where we're heading, even if we don't know how we will get there or when. And so to give up those things that we're not in control of, because all of those controlling mechanisms are things that we've been programmed with, really. So we've been programmed to believe that we can control all of those things, and so now we have to undo that programming. And then also it can really create this dichotomy. If you believe that you can control things and then you can't, then you're in this constant tug of war, which takes a lot of energy. So to be able to drop into the surrender of it, to be comfortable with the not knowing, and I think kind of it's like we have to almost be the opposite to humble, because we actually have to increase our levels of self-care. And in a way, to be humble is to put other people before you. That's not about being selfish. It's about that when we have really keep upping our levels of self-care, then we're in a really good position to help other people and to give other people a leg up, or to pull them up onto their next part. But we can't do that from a place of not being well and not being in balance and not being in our sort of pure divine essence, really. So I think the sentiment.
Yeah, I'd love to just I remember hearing a quote years ago that I think sums it up, is you can't be sick enough. You can't be sick enough to help a sick man get well, and you can't be poor enough to help a poor man, become more prosperous and abundant.
Yes, and even without the kind of, that still is taking on the physical aspects of it, but if you're not in your own divine essence, you can't filter out enough of what is going on to sit in presence with your own self, really, to be acknowledging your own divine flame, your divine spark, your connection. And when you can do that, you're empowered. That's the energetic resource that allows you to sit there, and then you can hold space for others. So I guess that's being pedantic with the language, but in confluence with the sentiment.
Well, one of the reasons I'm so interested to speak about this topic is exactly what you said, realizing within my own psyche, what is humility? I was really kind of, I didn't really know what to do with that word. And even I think in the Bible it says the meek will inherit the earth. I think that was it. And, just that realization in my own awakening journey of what that really means, as my own ego surrenders more into, this is just a term, but the true self or the bigger self, that can carry the smaller self or the personality self through these experiences with great empowerment and great confidence. So the more that I let go of the control, which is the part of me that learned to survive and get through life and, into that conditioning, and surrender my will to thy will, that greater will, that's where I don't need to get pulled into the fear or pulled into the disenchantment or the challenges or whatever, but can just keep that connection, as you said, and know that I'm divinely guided. So it gives a great empowerment and confidence to walk, beyond the earth, but not of it, feeling that deeper connection.
Yes, and maybe dipping into that childlike wonder and curiosity and playfulness, that whole thing about becoming lighter. So, becoming lighter as in more playful with what's going on, not taking it all so seriously, becoming lighter as in more lit up from within, more connected to higher expanded consciousness and frequency. But, that sort of enlightening can take all. I was playing with those words this morning, can take on that form of being light with self, being light with the earth, being light with one another, and being of the light in the light, and being playful, childlike, curious, and wonder.
Just before I pass it over to you, Janine, again, and so what I've been realizing is that the humility to humble oneself into the deeper essence of oneself, of the true self, allows for that innocence of the child, because it's like, oh, I don't have to figure all this out.
True.
Ego used to think it had to figure it all out, and there's this pressure and stress, and because that's how we've been living in that more separate identity. So when we can start to learn to come back in and go, oh, I don't need to figure this out, I don't need to come up with the goods per se, I will be guided in every day, in every moment, and we can unfold this journey together. And that's really the joy, that's really the magic, that's really to engage from that place, and that is the creativity, and that we are such a part of this blossoming, that we are in the garden of earth, and we are the flowers that are blossoming. If we can just allow that blossoming, rather than trying to figure out what the flower is going to look like at the end result.
Precisely.
Yeah. Over to you, Janine. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
To be humble, to be in humility, is to be in our heart. I'll just close this window. I've got noise outside. Sorry. Yes, so the only place that we really find true humility is within our heart. To be a heart-centered being in that moment, and we're in humility. When we're planning, when we're in the chaotic state of working out the next moment, of working out the lists and all that, we're in our mind, we're in our ego state. So we cannot know humility from a place of planning and organizing and expectation and lists and all that. We need to take a moment to take a breath and just to bring ourselves into that expanded, quiet, safe, calm place within us. That's where humility is found. And from there, we can get such an overall picture, such an overall feeling, a deeper feeling of exactly what it is that we have spent hours and hours on planning. We get the feeling of it rather than all the written lists and all the ideas and everything that goes into what the ego mind requires or leads us down. But of course, we know ourselves. Well, us three here and many others now are growing into the knowing that we're so much more than the human being, but we are here having a human experience, having a physical experience. So it's about incorporating the growing knowing of who we are into this physical experience to make it so such a multi-layered experience. And that's what's happening right now. So that feeling of humility, we drop into that, we're in our heart, and we can feel the expansiveness of that place of humility. And I believe, my own belief here is that humility is self-serving as well as serving others and the planet. So we can do all that from a place of humility. We don't need to step outside of that to, first of all, honour ourselves and take self-care, and then move out, of course, to others around us. Because the whole thing about the future reality that we're moving into is that it's unity, community based, and we can't go into, well, we wouldn't fit in the communities of the future until we come to that humility within ourselves and the grace of who and what we are, and realise that the deepest love that we have is for who we are ourselves first and foremost. So our cup poureth over, if you like, and we have so much more to give to this reality and to all others. And that starts from a place of humbling ourselves, forgiving ourselves for what we didn't know a moment ago, or in our mind we may have got wrong, because wrong is only a mind-based thing, not a heart-based thing. So that comes from that humble place of self-forgiveness too. So there's humility takes in such a wide and broad band or range of subjects. It's a beautiful, beautiful word. I have surrender, humility, and grace are the three words that really touch my heart. So that's my awareness of humility. Beautiful word to have a topic around, have a conversation around.
And that's really what's happening on the world is in a way we really have to let go of our arrogance of how we think this whole thing goes, or even, well, dropping plans. I mean, 2020, straight away it's like, well, this is a plan, our predictable future, and it's like, oh, okay, there's a bigger plan, so straight away that's a humility. First, it's people might be angry or annoyed or frustrated or whatever, even saw that in myself, especially the first week of the lockdown last year. It's like, whoa, okay, hang on. And then it's like you start to surrender into, okay, what is, and that's the acceptance and the allowing, and then open up to the potentials. And then just to move into the second part of this, so balancing humility and embodying your greatness. So that's something that we, more and more people talk about, as we really step into, as we really allow our true essence, our true light, unique expression to really ground and to be spoken through us and to really allow the heart to speak. So I'd love you to speak to this now, this balancing, this humility and embodying more and more of our greatness. So over to you, Sharron.
Well, embodiment is certainly a key kind of area that we're all working with at the moment. So we are being given a lot of light codes and fractals and things to activate, catalyze and purge out this sort of ongoing series of releasing so that we can open up space to allow more to come in. And the more that is that more that's coming in that's our greatness, that's our gifts, that's our qualities. And I think it's only when people get into that duality of comparison that the ego gets in the way. If you sit in the place of knowing that you have your own special piece here, your own special role, it's unique. It's not just unique, no one else can do it. No one can step in and do your role. So there's no competition around that. And so when you take that aspect out, you can sit very strongly and calmly in your own presence and your own center, knowing that you have a given role and that your job actually is to step into it. And so how you step into that is by releasing the programming, releasing the baggage, the beliefs, the whatever that holds you in constriction, so that you can allow more of the other to come in. And then you step into that, and that allows you to fill your role here, your piece on the board. And so then it's this beautiful co-creation, And the thing is that whilst there is a big picture plan, the planning is done through co-creation. So you create up, envisage, create a picture and give the whole feeling to it of how it feels to be in that. And in the quantum, that like plugs into a bigger field, and that's the aspect of co-creation. So I guess, I don't know, maybe there's this kind of weightedness that happens. If more people want that carries a greater weight for assimilation and creation. But I think if we go to that place of, well, what I'm doing is really important and therefore is more important than what anybody else is doing, that's when we'll get into friction, and that's when we'll get into delay, and that's where we'll get into sort of problems. But if we go to that place of, I'm here for purpose, I chose to come, I'm here because I'm meant to be, and it's a privilege and a blessing because it so is. And so my role here is to get into the space where I can be the biggest, most perfected version of who I really am. And then I can do what I'm here to do, and that assists other people to do what they're doing, because the puzzle can't be complete until everybody has formed their piece and then found where it belongs, really, in a simplistic way. Yeah.
And Janine?
That was beautiful, Sharron. I so agree with everything you said there. It's just beautiful. So greatness of being, all that we are, can only be found through humility. So our greatness of being is touched upon and grown within our heart, our body heart awareness. So that is how we feel, and we're feeling beings. So anything, like I say to the group that I facilitate each week, anything that we are, if we put our awareness below our neck, we are in our body heart awareness, and we feel life. If we put our awareness into our head cavity, we're in our mind. in our logical, practical part. So I gave them that exercise because so many people, I've realised, don't know how to go down into their heart awareness. And so to expand it out to body heart awareness gives them the entire field below the base of the neck to just breathe down into and to feel. So getting back to our greatness, this is where we discover our greatness, not through our mind. Our mind is such a powerful tool. It's so necessary here for so many reasons. But the greatness of who we are on every other level, and now moving into this level here, is found in the awareness of body heart, and that comes through humility. So and you know, moving into the future with community, because we are community beings. That is our natural state of being, is to bring our flavour. So Sharron was talking before about how we all have our purpose, and I so agree with that. Each one of us has a slot, or we're a chain in the link, and we bring our flavour, which was what I call it, our flavour. And our flavour is made up of every experience and every aha moment and every awareness and the gifts that we came through with all make up the flavour of who we are. But a flavour by itself, you know, is not near as fabulous as shared with all sorts of other flavours. So it's like, you know, humanity's a smorgasbord, and every one of us is a dish or a flavour on the table of life. And you put us all together on that banquet table and look at the spread. Oh my gosh, look at the colours and the shapes and the sizes and the smells and the textures and everything like that. You put one dish on the table and it can look very, very beautiful. So, you know, one person by themselves is extraordinarily beautiful, but add together in the community of all the others on that banquet table, and it's just beyond words, the description of what can be created when we come together and each of us brings our flavour into the mix and utilises whatever we are together for the greatest good of all. And that's who we are. That's why we're here, you know. To use that word greatness again, well, for the greatest good of all is why we are here, feet on the ground.
Beautiful, beautiful. So just one other thing that just was kind of in my thoughts as you were speaking, just another element of this, and something again that came into my own awareness, which initially is like, oh, that sounds a bit quirky, a bit interesting. But realizing that it's even an, you know, because often what can stop us going into humility or dropping into our heart can be self-esteem, you know, unworthiness stuff, or, you know, it can be because of stresses and challenges, and, you know, but underneath, what's that? You know, I need to get more, be more, have more, do more, because I'm not enough. So that there can be a deep unworthiness that's not allowing us to, that we've been running off, that's not allowing us to drop down or take the self-care time to be able to, you know, take those breaths and whatever that is, to drop us down into that heart and to humble ourselves, so to speak. And yeah, it really came to me that the ego in its low self-worth, that can be a way to not allow that humbling experience. Like it's near like a bit of trickery, you know, it's like I need to be worthy to let go of this need to prove my unworthiness to that greater sense of who I am, you know, and who am I to think of I'm greatness or I'm magnificent.
I want to say that's it. Oh no, go on, Janine.
I was just going to say, it's far easier for many human beings to feel small than it is to feel their magnificence, you know. So you're absolutely right, Mary Jo. You cannot feel humble or humility if you have a deep program of low self-worth working at the same time. You'll have every excuse under the sun why you're not deserving of your own love and or the love of others even. But this time on the planet, with everything that's happening, is bringing every one of those aspects in people up, right in their faces, every single part of fear. Because that's also low self-worth is. It's a part of fear. It's bringing it all up, and it's designed to do that, to bring it all up into our faces so that we have the invitation to face that part of ourself and forgive ourselves if we need to simply learn to be gentle and kind and then moving into loving ourselves. And, you know, if that takes forgiveness as well, then gosh, who deserves it more than we do ourselves, our own forgiveness? You know, as I said before, not sure, oh no, I think it was on another Zoom this morning, you know, we don't know what we don't know before we know it. We just, you know, so to forgive ourselves for that we didn't know it before, but now we do. So, you know, I forgive myself for ever saying that, doing that, being that, you know, because now I realise different. I'm more open to a new way, a different way, a deeper understanding. So that's, and you know, that grows into a place of humility and self-love. So yeah, it's a really good point.
Beautiful. Thanks for sharing that. And what would you like to add, Sharron?
In a way, I feel that that's our work. So in my view, from my perspective, we create these opportunities for exploration, really, of self before we come. So we set up particular wounds that we're going to deal with, attend to, heal, and then we integrate that back in through self-love. And so those things now are, especially the core wounding, at the moment, those things are really coming up if people haven't attended to those things. And so, you know, it's not a judgment, it's just this realization that each of us has come to attend to those wounds. So they often come in our younger, in our early childhood or later childhood, but they often come before adulthood, and then in adulthood they keep popping up until we attend to them. So they're this aspect of us that's going, oi, come on, I'm here, listen to me, I want to be heard, I want to be seen, and you're not seeing me, or I'm, you know, I feel sick in my stomach all the time because I'm worried about the earth, or I don't want to be here anymore because it's too energetically challenging. So those are, you know, each of us, we choose those things. And so our work is to go, what is that? And what does it need? And how can I give it to myself? And that's a very abbreviated version of it, but that's the process. I believe in this healing of the inner child, and then you're integrating the healed inner child. So for me, my sort of adage around it is that our inner child carries our wounding and our wisdom. And once we've healed the wounding, we have access to the wisdom, and the wounding isn't getting in the way. So that's, you know, that's a part of our unraveling and coming into our wholeness for being here on the earth. And then we're able to really step into our greatness without the triggers, without the wounding, without the inner child on the coattails, or the inner child being the ninja taking us out, or the inner child, you know, throwing the tantrum. And so that, I believe that's for all of us who've come here as humans to experience this. You know, we've created that setup, and so that's part of our process. And now is the time where it's like, just like Janine said, you know, so if it isn't dealt with, your inner child is saying, hey, come on, it's time. We've got work to do here on a bigger, grander sense, and we can really do it so much more easily if we can only be accessing our wisdom and not being tripped up by our own wounding. So that's this process that we're going through, and then we're able to really shine our own light on ourselves, if you like, and step into that unique, it's a unique expression. And I want to say one of the things that Gaia's been doing lately with my clients is she's been giving people an upgraded soul essence signature, and it's coming in like musical notes, and many people are actually having these multi-dimensional musicality kind of aspects coming in representation of them coming into more of that aspect. So, you know, that's kind of, I guess, one aspect of where we're at the moment with our human evolution.
Yeah, I'm just, you know, as you're saying that, I'm just saying, yeah, because the sound overrides that left brain or that ego brain trying to get involved, and, you know, that makes it all complicated and the duality. So it makes sense that, you know, that things will become more simplified or direct, and communication to the cells of the body, to the soul, through sound and vibration. And I notice that I'm in that kind of communication with myself and my body, and these aspects of self that are, I wanted to actually, even though I talked before, or I gave the little heading to this, balancing humility and embodying your greatness, but really what I want to say is digesting your greatness. You know, how do we actually digest our greatness, you know, to ground it so that the body can have more ease with that kind of functioning. And definitely I found for myself that sound vibration communicates on such a multi-dimensional level that it can really, I call it the orchestra, you know, harmonize the orchestra. And I use the analogy of the organs of the body, but also the aspects of being. So whether inner child or past life or whatever, depending on what level we're kind of looking at soul-wise, but the sounds can harmonize those aspects of beingness that the mind, especially the linear mind, it just cannot track, it cannot really bring to some resolution really on that level of thinking. It's just, you know, it is an experience, it's a vibration, it's a frequency, it's a knowingness, and it's an energy dynamic. Would you resonate with that?
Yeah, I would. And I think the thing I want to add to that is the importance of three aspects. One is being really hydrated, the other is being very grounded, and the third is using the breath. So what is coming in? So once upon a time we could manifest through the mind, and we would house things in our body by bringing them in that way. But in the last, I don't know how many years, but a number of years, my understanding is that now we have to bring it in, and with these codes, this is what I'm showing we have to do. So we bring it in, so we intentionally allow it to come in. So it might come in through the crown, it might come in through the field, it might come in through the skin, but it's this intention of receiving it, this being soft and allowing, receiving it. And so you can do that on an in-breath, and then on the out breath, you can be pushing it down through your body and into the ground and into your earth chakra and into your earth star crystalline chakra. That is where these gifts are being housed. So they come in, we house them in our own personal earth star crystalline chakra, and then that links into the earth pulsating crystalline grids. So then it's shared, it's exponentially expanded, developed, and then it comes up and in, and you house it in your body. So, you know, you can do that in a series of a couple of breaths, so then you breathe it back up, but, you know, there'll be divine timing around that as well, and then it moves into the body where it's required. So you don't have to do that, but what Gaia says is that if you do that, it will come with ease. So things won't get so stuck in the body, you won't have so much pain. So the hydration helps with that, the breath helps with that, and this groundedness. So for manifestation, now we need to bring it into the body, into the earth, bring it back up, and then manifest it out in that way.
Mm-hmm. And with that as well, are you still being in the feeling and the visualization, or is that something that you've seen as more the mind way of manifesting?
Oh no, I think it's that, it's like taking the way that we would have manifested in the mind but embodying it. So, you know, we do that, but then it gets pushed into the ground and then brought back up, and it gets, you know, energized with the emotion of it. That's the gas for it, isn't it? You know, it's the feeling, it's the feeling of it. It's the really, you know, the other thing I want to talk about though on that feeling level is that imagine just yourselves, just imagine if you're living your life every day without fear and in joy, and every single moment of your day you're in that feeling of feeling at peace and wonder and in joy and kind of on the edge of laughter a lot of the time. And then imagine if everybody around you is like that. That's our new earth.
Yeah, absolutely. I have an incredible noise happening here at the moment because we have a huge storm going across. So
we had that here earlier in the, only an hour ago actually.
Okay.
It's very noisy, thunder, lightning, crashing.
Yeah,
sounds
we've
like
got it now.
Pieces of paper in the universe are being torn up.
I've sent it down here. You've energetically moved it down. What I was wanting to add to what Sharron's talking about is that it's a relatively new thing now for us as human beings to realise that we're actually receptors, and that we have trillions of cells in our body, each one receiving data. And our skin is so sensitive, being the largest organ in the body, and every part of our skin is a receptor. So our heart is a huge receptor. So every part of even our mind is a receptor, but the mind takes it in at a different level and then dissects it and analyzes it and applies logic and becomes very practical and wants its lists, and that makes something that could be so simply received, it makes it very complex. So to bring all the coding in that's coming now, to open to the vibration that comes on light, that comes in music, that comes in movement, that comes in conversation, that comes through the internet even, but to the ways, the myriad ways and avenues that information is coming to us now, especially with the codes, because, you know, one glip holds like an entire book or even more of a message. So we have to start understanding that we are receptors, and to open in the breath, as Sharron mentioned before with the breath, it's so important, and to keep the body hydrated, because the body is a huge receptor. So to look after it, take care of it, and as Sharron said before, the ease with which we will transition with everything that's coming to us now will be magnified if we bring our awareness to the body, heart, awareness of ourselves, and allow and work with this and open to this, and not just stay in our mind and try and analyse it or try and understand it from that level of us, but to learn the greater level of us is everything else about us.
So just for anybody who might be going, what are these codes? What are you talking about? Can you just see if you can explain to somebody who's maybe hearing this for the first time, what do you mean about these codes? You explain that, Sharron.
These codes have a number of different functions. So one of the sets of codes that is, well, we have energy coming that's for clearing and purging. So that's, you know, get rid of your stuff. And so that can come in, that can have a catalytic effect. But the codes are coming in, so they're coming in lots of different ways, which is interesting in itself. But they are coming in to do maybe three main things. So they are coming in to reconnect and reactivate our DNA stranding. And so at the moment, that's the focus on, that is the 12 stranding of DNA. There are those of there are beings on the planet who are beyond that, and everybody will move beyond that. But that's like the first grade, or the first bar, if you like, the first movement. And in the orchestration of all of this, that's the first movement, that everyone's 12 stranding of DNA will be reconnected, reactivated. So with that comes gifts. A lot of our gifts are actually housed in our cells, in our cellular memory, and so these codes are catalyzing those to be released, and we can become aware of them. So that's one thing. And then so that could be gifts and talents. And then the other thing that I see with it is that some of them are releasing stored wisdom, stored knowledge. So that might be from past lives and ancient. There's a lot of ancient wisdom being reignited within people, where they've had roles in very early, a lot of Lemurian, Atlantean, Babylonian, shamanic stuff has been coming up with my clients when I'm seeing what's coming for them, and it's quite mind-blowing. They're these, they've had lives, and we all have, but as these incredibly expanded beings with huge talents and gifts. So it's allowing those to be released, to be witnessed, to be reintegrated. Yeah, so gifts and talents and wisdom, and then that's being housed in alignment with the DNA reconnecting. And the other thing that is happening is so hard to describe, like communication links to interplanetary systems. So there's been this week in particular, I've seen a lot of clients who've they look like they're a circuit board, when I look in, but it's becoming multi-dimensional, and I'm seeing connections off to a multiple, not just one main planet, but multiple systems of planets. So that communication to our off-planet existence, or those aspects of us that are in other planetary systems. So we've got to go, that's an expansive mind stretch, but we are here as the micro version and the macro. So more of us is being housed in our body. So we're here as this with this inner child, and we're here as this human adult, and then above us is our higher aspect, our higher self, and then we're here and we're housing more of that now. So we're like Janine said, we're the receptacle, and we're the conduit. So we're the conduit between the energies that are coming from above and the energies that are coming from the earth. We're like the hourglass for the egg timer. When it's moving through us in both directions. And so we've got, and this will become more obvious, we'll see more of these beings who are not of earth, although they have representatives here, and many of us have links into those. But all of that, it's more universal, it's broader, higher, and that's starting to come tickle our edges now, as we'll be
Clear edges.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of acceptance of self to allow for that awareness of self as these amazing multidimensional connections, right? I mean, more and more, that's just what we're moving into, is a greater acceptance of the true essence of self, and allowing the old beliefs, attitudes, to just kind of drop away, and just it's had its day kind of thing. And we take the wisdom with us, and the understanding and the compassion, and we start opening up into these higher levels of self, and allowing them to take command, really, because that's what's required. That's my sense anyways, that and that's the beautiful thing, isn't it, that in the crisis, we are the solution, really. So it's allowing that solution to come through us, and I see us as like, that we are the conduit, between heaven and earth. We really, we are it, in the center point, in the heart, right there as the center point, as we balance those energies within ourselves. Over to you,
people
Janine.
will be able to step into the, when we talk about the expandedness and the greatness, you know, many beings on earth have had lives where they've been, you know, 15, 17, 20, 30 foot tall.
It's not for no reason that we are learning that we're multi-dimensional, that we're multi-layered, that we're multi-diverse, that, you know, our beautiful point of light that we call soul has many sparks of its consciousness out right through the universe, living lives right now on different timelines and different civilizations and different planets. And so now that we are rising in vibration and we are opening to the awareness that we are more than just this physical being, we're allowing the threads, the vibrational threads to all those aspects of us that are out there in that multiverse to come alive, to fire up, and we can call on those parts of us anytime. Yeah, it's like a multi-leveled highway of light connection, information and light and presence that comes backwards and forwards. And you imagine that with, you know, 8 billion human beings on the planet and all that's going on. It's just, there is no space. The field is full of life, you know, in so many forms. So that is just one of the things that we are opening up to in ourselves right now as the multidimensional.
Yeah. How are you feeling? Well, there's two questions I'd like to ask you before we kind of finish it up. One is just about the technological advancement, you know, just what's your sense of that and where we're going with that, and of course moving into this more galactic community awareness of ourselves and opening ourselves up into that more expanded field of thought, if you like, and connections. And then this is a bit of a different question. I just want to also ask you what you've seen is the challenges that people are having as we are, you know, as we are choosing on some level to adapt into this expanded sense of our consciousness.
So one of the things that I see constantly and in many people is fear. They're so used to knowing themselves as a small part of life here. For many, insignificant would even be a word. What could one person do to make a change? So they do nothing. They feel their smallness so much, and that's been orchestrated deliberately through lifetimes for the human to feel very small. So that would be probably the greatest challenge, is that to open up and realise that there is nothing small about us as beings whatsoever. There's nothing more powerful than us in this universe. We are it. We are it. We are here on this planet because we are the most powerful beings there are. And that's why we're here on this particular planet and at this time. So what I would answer to that particular question, Mary Jo, is fear is the thing. And so greatness comes in small pieces, in gentle breaths, and small awarenesses and understandings and quiet moments and observing something in another, or feeling something in the moment, or in a dream, and in a deeper awareness of another life. And just those little tiny little pieces hold huge power in helping us awaken to who and what we really and truly are. So yeah, I'll turn it over to Sharron.
Yeah, I just will tack on to the end of that my belief is that the reason that we are these heralded beings is because of the degree and expansiveness of love that we are able to hold. And so that is kind of incrementally expanding, and we've been going through a lot of light code experiences to activate that. And like in the last 6 months, the masculine aspects in our world have had 3 massive kind of heart openings. So that's exciting, because they have lived their lives often and a lot, not being so much in their hearts. So, you know, that's a really important humanity's step in progression, really, is for the men in our world to be more in their hearts. But that's why other universes, other galaxies, other beings are interested in what we're doing, because it's been our downfall and now it's going to be our uprising. So, you know, that's why we have to do the healing of the wounding, so we can fall more into the greatness of this love, because love is really the greatest force, you know. It can move mountains, it can birth rivers, it can birth children. It's the most phenomenal energy, and when exponential unconditional love comes together with exponential unconditional love, it's, you know, this huge harnessing, this huge sort of force field. So, you know, that's kind of the exciting aspect of the emotional body. But what comes with the emotional body is having to deal with the tricks and the veils and the wounds and the all of the things that we've traversed during our lives as humans, where we've been programmed to be competitive and to look out for ourselves over others rather than alongside others, and so all of those things are what's created a whole extra layer of shadow and wounds and traumas. And so, you know, we're shifting out of that. So I think in terms of where we're going, fear, like Janine says, and that's the ultimate weapon, I have to say. It's the weapon that we are having used against us. So a lot of what is being perpetrated in our world at the moment is sitting on a platform of fear, and then it has more fear pumped into it, because if people are in fear, they will not be empowered to take action, to sit in their own sovereignty, and to be empowered. So fear disempowers. So when you hook into fear, you're disempowering yourself. And fear, you know, there's all of those little acronyms, aren't there? Fear is false evidence appearing real. That's the only one I can think of at the moment. But there's been this injection of fear. That's what's been coming through the media. And so then when people are in fear, they're on a wobble, they can't be in their empowerment. And so that's a strategy to keep us here. And I have to say, that's what Gaia speaks of. This whole thing has been ultimately a strategy to slow down ascension. And so there's this aspect of beings in our world who hold a lower dimensional vibration, and they cannot exist beyond they cannot move into the fifth dimensional frequency, is what Gaia says. So they are fighting for their lives, and how they are doing that is keeping us in fear. So we have to rise above the fear, and then we'll have this this movement, which can show up in lots of different ways, and that's another whole story. So we won't be there, but this movement, this shift into fifth dimensional frequency, into anchoring more of the fifth dimensional field. So they are, you know, that's their weapon, is to keep us in fear. So rise above that. See, you know, you have to ask yourself questions like, well, is that real? Is that right here now in this present moment? Is that my reality right now? And if it's a yes, well, have a bit of fear. If it's a no, then let it go, because it's not in this moment. It's not in this present moment reality. So fear is something that we often work through by diving into the future and zipping off back into some past moment, but often at the moment it's this fear of what's to come. It's this fear of, are we going to be impregnated with a so-called vaccine for a so-called virus that has, so-called created death everywhere. And that's all the propaganda of fear. And so look underneath it. It's not my job to tell you what to think. And it's like for each of us has to find our own truth, and our truth might be different. But for me, that's where I see a lot of the fear coming in. Be fearful about the safety and well-being of your children. Be fearful about the safety and well-being of the health of your body. Be fearful about your ability to create finance, to put food on the table. All of those are the sorts, that's put people into survival mode, into fear. They haven't got time to think. They haven't got time to cognize new ideas. They haven't got time to flourish. And so that's the dance or the game at the moment. And as far as the whole, the other challenges are to be more open, be open to the curiosity, to the possibility that what if it's true? What if it is so that we are on the cusp of moving into paradise on earth? What if it is? Hold back for a moment. Hold that. Actually, hold that and then place it in your heart. See what that does.
Beautiful. Truly beautiful. We live with choice in every moment. That we can choose to believe in the most incredible future that's even beyond our wildest and deepest heart's desires, or we can choose to stay as the world is and live through fear. And that's a choice, and that's a timeline, and that's reality. We create it.
Exactly, and that's what I feel like reiterating, is brings back to the simple message that was brought to the planet over 2,000 years ago, ushering in this Christ consciousness, is as you believe, it's given unto you, and we are the ones projecting onto this reality canvas. And so that's why there's so many realities kind of playing out. And, I don't know if you've had this experience, but I've had a little bit, not too much, but, just people sending me certain information, of all this information, of all this scientific blah, blah, blah. And I go, I honor your truth. I honor your truth. I just draw from my experience and my beliefs, and I honor your truth, and I'd like you to honor mine as well. And that, we can kind of be in this together and just honor each other in our discovery, in our journeys, and in our experiences and our belief systems, and if that's what you believe is your version of truth or freedom or whatever. I've been just realizing that more and more. I have my own perceptional awareness experiences that I draw upon from my sense of what's reality and what's truth, and other people have theirs, and they look very, very different. But I've been learning within myself is, to really honor that and honor all these different pathways, and to really honor that everyone is doing their best, and what looks like what means freedom for somebody else is very different than how that looks for me, for example, and the choices that I choose. So it's quite an interesting navigation and observation, and I guess embodiment of these new realities that we're allowing for ourselves, or steering towards, and just being, I guess, mindful of ultimately the powers within each of us on how we add our energies to it through our thoughts and our emotionality. So yeah, it's incredible. So thank you.
Just before we finish, Mary Jo, I'd just like to say, if we're coming from a place of love, we will always honour another person's truth, whether it even coincides with any of our truth or not, we will always honour another person's truth. If we're in fear, we will project out and sometimes attack because we have to justify our own fear. So that's the difference between fear and love. So yeah, thank you.
So before we close, Mary Jo, I want to just allude to what you said about Christ consciousness. So is that all right? Can I just have a moment for that? So I just want to point out that this Christ consciousness is linked to the crystalline energy that we're embodying at the moment. And so it comes from the Christos, or the Christed. And the Buddha carried that energy, and Muhammad carried that energy. It's not distinctly linked to Christianity. It's this it's an energetic signature of a being that holds that Christed or that Christos light. So we hold some of that, and more of that is coming into our spinal fluids. That's where it's beginning to come up and be housed. But it's this Christos or crystalline liquid light, really, and it's of the Christ consciousness, and it links in through all of the main religions, even though they have been interpreted and in some cases misinterpreted in their writings and their teachings. But the fundamental of all religions sits in that, this being of the Christed light, this being of that unconditional loving Christed light that holds, and its nature is crystalline, so it holds fractals and it refracts, and it's powerful. So that's, I guess that's a unifying factor, isn't it? That we'll all be holding that, and holding more and more of that. And in terms of the sort of AI stuff, it's all about the focus. So technology can be used for good or for harm. And so it's all about where we choose for that to be. And my understanding is that we will have technologies that kind of integrate but not permeate. So we will choose the technologies that assist us to live more delicious, freedom, joy-filled lives, but they will not be integrated into our being, and they will not reduce our consciousness.
And just going back to kind of what you were saying, Janine, with both of you really, is sometimes I share with people, these master teachers, as you just mentioned, Sharron, some of these wonderful master teachers, that they never argued. They're not arguing for the rightness of their point of view, and that's why they carry this great light, or this great teaching that has continued on, that we still know these names and we still have a recognition of them. They walk their truth, and that's a deep knowingness. So they would never take time to argue with somebody or try to justify that there's just no need for that. So when we do tap into that deep knowingness, we really we just love and bless everybody and have immense compassion, and just have that deep.
And we're in flow and not resistance. So we're not pushing against it. We're just moving in with it.
Yeah. Beautiful, ladies. So thank you so much for this beautiful co-creative March 2021 conversation.
Isn't it?
Amazing.
Just incredible. So it'll be interesting to see how these next weeks go. However, we'll be here in the now moment.
We will.
Being the best
And
version.
that's a really good sort of, segue to closing what you just said, to be in the now, because we're going through very accelerated time. We're really moving into quantum, and so things can go past. Like that'll be. So we'll experience both of those aspects.
Lovely sharing time with you too. Lovely sharing time with the world and the space.
Yeah, thank you very much, both of you. Thank you
so
for
much.
holding the beautiful space that you do.
Thank you for being adaptable as well with the time that changed the day by one day. Thank you so much. I just wanted to, just one last thing that just came there. It's like if we're in the future, even next week, we're missing out on this beautiful sensual experience of this embodied awakening that we're having, and we do ourselves such an injustice really to miss out on this incredible experience that we've chosen as souls to be on this earth for this unfolding, delicious unfolding through our many flavors.
Yes.
Well,
Absolutely.
beautiful imagery.
Beautiful.
All
Okay,
right.
till next time, lovely ladies.
Lots of love to both of you.
Lots of love, namaste. Mwah, so much love and blessings. And to everyone who watches this in the now, in your now, we send you so much love. Thank you, thank you,
Yes.
thank you.